Everyone in the living room were without any words after Broly went outside. They were all thinking the same thing. Did Broly really said that the planet exploded, and what did that mean? The first one to say something was the cook as he put down the cigarette. I think he mistook something, spoke Sanji calmly, even though he was still a bit shocked. But the blonde cook just couldn't believe that Broly was some guy from outer space. It was unbelievable. Yes, you were right, Sanji. We clearly mistook what he said, right? Asked Nami as she waved with her hand and tried to assure the others just like herself that they all heard it wrong. Yeah, you are right, Nami. There is no way that Broly is from another planet, right? Asked Chopper, who did the same thing with his hand as Nami and smiled. But you heard him, guys. He said that his planet exploded. How cool would it be to have a crew member from some other planet? Exclaimed Luffy, all happy about the fact to have a strong alien in his pirate crew and together sail across the sea. You can't be serious, Luffy, and that's ridiculous. He probably hit his head or something. He looks just like any ordinary human, and there is no way that he's from another planet, explained Zoro, who didn't believe that Broly could be from outer space. It was too ridiculous to even think about that. Zoro is right, and besides, we should talk about something really important, Luffy agreed. Nami, and with a worried expression on her face, looked at Luffy. What do you mean, Nami? Asked the Straw Hat Captain, who didn't quite understand what Nami meant to say. I mean, what about Usopp? Shouldn't we find him before the ship is ready? Said Nami to Luffy, who immediately remembered about his and Usopp's fight. He was about to say something when Sanji joined the conversation. I wouldn't worry too much about that, Nami spoke Sanji, who stood from the chair and collected the empty plates from the table. Huh? I saw him while I was coming back from the shop. He was on the beach preparing his glorious comeback speech, explained Sanji as he walked towards the kitchen while Luffy, Nami, and Chopper happily smiled. Really? Are you sure, Sanji? Asked the little doctor of the crew, on which Sanji just nodded. That's awesome. Let's go and find him right now, Chopper. Yelled Luffy, excited to reunite with Usopp again, on which Chopper nodded, and the two were about to run out when somebody stopped them. Stop, Luffy. I don't agree with this, exclaimed Zoro as he moved away from the wall and approached Luffy to have a serious conversation with him. While they had a serious conversation inside the house, the legendary Scion was outside walking near the sea. He stopped and just stood there while the wind went through his black spiky hair. He looked up in the sky and thought for a moment if this was a good thing to do. The pirate boy did tell him that there are strong opponents and that it will be great, but Broly was suspicious. The pirate crew seemed too good and Broly was feeling uncomfortable with it. Well, he did spend all of his life only surrounded with a bad father, and he was a Scion. He quickly tossed away that thought as he started to walk away. He would think about that later. For now, he will see what this pirate crew and the planet can offer to him. As the Scion walked away, he didn't notice that somebody was not too far away watching him. The man with a long nose was scared of the Scion. Even though no one from his crew saw him here, he did saw what the Scion was capable of, and that scared him. What was Luffy thinking by asking this guy to join the crew? He looked scary, thought Usopp as he walked away from the rock that he was hiding behind, and thought of something else. Oh, I should better think of some cool comeback speech, said Usopp out loud, and didn't notice that he walked into the sea. Some time passed and the Scion returned to the house. Like always, he remained silent while he was sitting on the chair while the others were doing their own things. Some of them wanted to ask the Scion what he really meant before he walked out, but they quickly snapped from that when they heard somebody calling them. They were just thinking to walk out from the house and see who was looking from them when the two Square Sisters slammed the wooden doors and entered inside. Hey, why are the two of you in such a rush? Asked the little doctor, who's sitting on the floor while he was slowly packing the medicine that he bought on this island. I was about to ask the same thing, added Sanji, who was kneeling beside Chopper and helped the talking reindeer. We have great news, said one of the Square Sisters as she tried to catch a breath. Hear what she says. Big bro Frankie just finished the ship and you can sail when you want. Added the other sister a bit louder as she also, like her sister, tried to breath. Really? The ship is already finished, yelled Luffy, all happy and excited to see their new ship, which was supposed to carry them all over to the new world. The others were excited as much as Luffy was and couldn't wait to see their new ship, while Broly just remained there silent and with his usual cold expression. He didn't understand why would they be so much excited about some ship. Nonsense, aha. You can go and see it now if you want. Yeah, it's ready to sail. That's great. Let's go, everybody, exclaimed Luffy, on which the others happily nodded and were ready to go see the ship when they heard a lot of noises coming from outside. This time, they walked outside the house only to see the Frankie family members coming their way. Straw Hat Pirates, we have an important news. yelled somebody from the group as they just stopped in front of the crew. What is it with you guys? Asked one of the sisters while the man tried to catch a breath so they could properly speak and warn the pirates this. All of you have a bounty after what happened in Eni's lobby, yelled the leader of the crowd, on what most of the pirates were happy while some were terrified about that. The crew looked at their new wanted posters. Luffy and Zoro were pleased with their new bounties while Sanji, Chopper, and Nami were having a really bad time. Broly, who was standing behind them, didn't quite understood what was the meaning of this posters. What are those posters about? Asked Broly as he observed the wanted poster of a guy with a long nose and noticed the number below his name. You don't know about them, Broly? Asked Robin as she was the only one who heard the question since she was the closest to the Scion. No, well, you see, these wanted posters are only released when there are dangerous pirates. The bigger bounty means that the pirate is dangerous and strong, explained Robin to the Scion, on which he only nodded and figured what that meant. These bounty posters were similar, like power levels. While Broly looked at other wanted posters, Robin was still looking at the Scion. He was mysterious to her, which made her wonder what really happened to him and from where was he. Her thoughts were cut when she heard the news about Frankie and that he too received a bounty. The members of the Frankie family pleaded Luffy to take Frankie with them, on which the captain of the Straw Hat Pirates gladly agreed on that. The Frankie family were glad to hear that and quickly run away in search for Frankie. This is so awesome. My bounty went up. We have a new ship and another crew member, yelled Luffy, who was very happy and couldn't wait to see the new ship which Frankie made. I agree with you, Captain. My bounty went up too, agreed Zoro with a smile on his face, while Chopper yelled at the whole world, only 50. And a pet? I'm not a pet, damn it. I'm a doctor. I fought too, yelled Chopper as he tightened the hold on the paper while tears formed on his eyes. Well, you need to try harder next time, advised Luffy, while Chopper started to cry. As for Sanji, who was looking more like a zombie than a human, how is this? This is not me. Sanji barely mumbled something since he felt like he was dying from only looking at his drawn picture on the poster. What are you talking about? They draw you perfectly, laughed Zoro, on which Sanji just again mumbled something which no one understood. We will worry about this later. Now we should run away from here and get aboard the ship, suggested Nami as she looked at Luffy, who agreed with the navigator. Yeah, you are right, Nami. Listen, everyone, let's go and pack our stuff and run away from here, yelled Luffy, on which everyone nodded and with their captain went inside to pack their stuff, while Broly remained outside alone, waiting for them since he didn't have anything to pack. He only had what he had on himself, and that was more than enough for the Scion. The only thing he wanted was to leave this place as soon as possible and hopefully find someone worth of fighting, because he was eager to have a fight to release his power. Broly just smirked and waited for the others to come back while the pirate crew was getting ready to leave the town of water. The marine ship was getting closer to the place where the new Straw Hat ship was located. Even though Garp didn't want to catch his grandson and his friends, he didn't have a choice. He cursed to himself at the thought of catching his own blood, but he really didn't have a say in the matter. His thoughts were cut when a young Marine approached him. Vice Admiral Garp, sir, we are close to the location where the ship of the pirates is located, reported the Marine, on which Garp just nodded. Good. Now go and prepare everyone for battle, ordered Garp as he stood on the front side of the ship with his hands crossed. As the Marines were slowly getting close to their target, the pirates were close to their new ship. They all run fast so they could see their new ship and sail on a new adventure. Broly at first thought of just flying to the ship, but he decided not to. He was sure that none of them knew how to fly, and he himself didn't know where exactly the ship was located. After a few minutes, they were already at the shore when they saw a huge ship waiting for them, ready to sail. Wow, it's amazing. You can say that again. Did Frankie really did all of that? Well, he did have some help, spoke Iceberg as he walked close to the group, surprising them with his presence. The ship is beautiful. I can't wait to ride on it, said Nami as she looked at the ship and the sails. Let's go and see how it looks, yelled Luffy, and with the others quickly went to aboard the ship while Broly slowly walked towards the ship. To be honest, he was surprised by the look of the ship. He was suspicious about the planet technology and how much advanced it was, and this just confirmed his suspicions. He never saw or ride a ship which looked like this and was a little bit curious. He slowly boarded the ship and scanned it whole. It looked nice and it had a lot of free space which will do good to his training. He sat on the grassy ground while he leaned his back on the fence and waited for the captain to give the orders to sail. After looking at what the ship has to offer, Luffy climbed the fence and looked down at Iceberg. Hey Ice Pops, this is an awesome ship, but where's Frankie? This is his ship after all, and I want him in my crew. Yelled Luffy, who didn't get it why Frankie wouldn't be here and set sail with them on the ship that he made. I know what you mean, so you must listen to what I'm about to say, said the mayor of the town, which made Luffy confused. Meanwhile, in the streets of Water 7, Usopp was running towards the shore. When he heard that the new ship is ready, he quickly grabbed his things and went to the shore. While he was running, he was thinking of what to say when he sees the others. Haha, I'm sure they will wait for me. Of course, they wouldn't leave with their most important crew member. They will be happy to see me. Haha, laughed Usopp as he ran through the street, but little did he know that his crew members had big problems. Everything seemed fine and great. Frankie was dragged to the shore, and with a little persuasion, he accepted the invitation to the crew. But their happy time was ruined by the Marines. All of a sudden, the Marines showed up and started to fire cannonballs at the Straw Hat Pirates. Frankie, Zoro, and Sanji quickly boarded the ship and were ready to leave. We need to get away from here fast, otherwise our new ship will sink to the bottom of the sea, exclaimed Nami, on which everybody nodded and prepared to sail. You are right, Nami. But what about Usopp? Asked Chopper, who was worried about Usopp and he didn't want to leave this place without him. Listen, we don't have any other choice. We need to move, otherwise it's over, said Frankie, on which the others couldn't but agree, and with sad expression on their faces each of them resumed their battle positions. Where's that moron? Is he really not coming back, thought Sanji as he ran on the rear side of the ship, while behind him was Zoro, Luffy, and Robin. When they arrived at the back of the ship, it was clear to see who was firing the cannonballs. Hey, is it me, or is that Luffy's grandfather throwing cannonballs at us? Asked Sanji as he focused on the man who was throwing cannonballs at them. That old man. Hey, Grandpa, you said you will leave us alone, yelled Luffy loud enough so he could be heard by his grandfather on the other ship. On the Marine ship, Garp just smiled as he prepared himself to throw another cannonball. Sorry, Luffy, but I'm a Marine and I must capture every pirate. It's your fault that you're a criminal, Luffy, yelled Garp back as he threw another cannonball. Grr, you will never catch us, yelled Luffy once again and took a deep breath to pump himself to a balloon and bounced back the cannonball, which surprised the Scion. He thought that the pirate will kick it back or something, but he just looked like a balloon. What was he? I never saw someone throw cannonballs like that, said Zoro as he sliced few cannonballs that were coming his way. Their attention was suddenly caught by Chopper, who yelled that he could smell Usopp. All of them looked at the shore only to see Usopp running toward the end of the beach. Hey, guys, come on, you can't leave without your best man, right? Come on, guys, yelled Usopp, who was near his breaking point as he saw that the ship was going far away by every second that passed. No one on the ship even looked at Usopp as they waited for him to say what he really needed to say, when they suddenly heard a loud yelling. Please stop, please. I'm sorry, everyone. I know I can be stupid sometimes, but I don't want to be alone. I need you guys, please, cried Usopp as a waterfall of tears fell across his cheeks. Everyone aboard the ship heard what Usopp said, and Luffy immediately threw his hand towards Usopp. Usopp looked at the hand that was in front of him when he heard Luffy. Just grab it, you idiot, yelled Luffy while he cried. Usopp nodded with a loud cry and grabbed the hand with which he was brought back to the ship. While Luffy and Usopp were on the ground half crying, half laughing, Broly watched Luffy with a surprised expression. He just saw Luffy stretching his hand all over to the shore, and that was what amazed the Scion. He never saw someone doing something like that in his life. He traveled across the universe and saw many things, but he never saw something like this. He snapped from his thoughts when he heard a noise coming his way. He looked up and saw a cannonball coming his way. The Scion just smirked and put his left hand in front, ready to catch a ball, when he saw Sanji jumped in and kicked the ball away. Be a little bit more careful, said Sanji, who immediately jumped away. Broly just gritted his teeth in irritation. He didn't need any help. Did they consider him weak? If there was any doubt in his strength, he was sure to show them what true power really is. Snapped from his thoughts when he heard Frankie talking. That's all nice, but we need to escape from here, and before we do, I think it would be the best to name the ship, suggested Frankie as he looked at everyone, on which all of them nodded. You are right, but how will we name it? Asked the navigator as she tried to think of a best fitted name for their new ship. I know how. Let's call it the Beast Monkey Lion King, exclaimed Luffy, only to be smacked at the back of the head by Usopp. No, that's a terrible name, yelled Usopp, who couldn't even believe how Luffy managed to come out with that name. Before any of you start to suggest a name, I think I have a very good one. What about the Thousand Sunny? Suggested Frankie, on which Luffy immediately agreed while the others nodded and were all right with the name. Even though he tried to suggest some other names which sounded better to him, no one listened and decided to let it go. Great, now all of you wait here. I have a big surprise for all of you, and brace yourselves because we are about to have a superior riot, stated Frankie as he ran inside the ship, leaving the other confused, but they snapped from it when they heard the cannonballs. Luffy deflected the balls and jumped on the fence of the ship. Hey, Grandpa! I don't know what will happen now, but you will never catch us, yelled Luffy with a smile on his face towards his grandfather, only to make him angry. What are you talking about, brat? You will never escape from me. Marine, bring my favorite ball, ordered Garp, on which the Marine nodded and with few others went to bring the Vice Admiral his favorite ball on the ship. Everyone was doing their best while Broly was just standing there and observed how everyone protected the ship. What amazed him were the abilities of Luffy and Robin. He could stretch like a rubber and she could grow as many hands as she wanted. This was really some weird place, and Broly wondered what those abilities were. He snapped from his thoughts when he saw something big on a Marine ship, but he wasn't the only one to notice that. GA guys, are you seeing what I'm seeing? Is that really a huge cannonball? Yelled Usopp, who was scared and shocked to see such a big cannonball. Amazing, look at the size of that ball, exclaimed Nami with her eyes wide open. That's my grandpa, laughed Luffy as he observed his grandfather holding the huge cannonball with one hand. This is not the time to laugh, Luffy, yelled Zoro angrily at his captain for having such fun time in the middle of this situation. He is right. If we don't move away quickly, we will die, said Robin, and agreed with Zoro while she stood behind them calm as ever. Frankie, whatever you think of doing, now is the best time to do it, yelled Sanji in hope that Frankie could hear him from the inside the ship. Yeah, hold on to something, guys. Here it goes, exclaimed Frankie with a smile on his face as the machinery in front of him started to shake. Outside, on the rear side of the ship, everyone was shocked and afraid as Garp threw his huge cannonball towards their ship. The ball was coming in fast. Broly glanced at the ball above his head and only smirked. He placed his right hand above his head and was ready to obliterate the ball when suddenly the ship started to shake. To his and everyone else's surprise, they were sent flying into the air. All of the crew members laughed and were amazed by this stunt, while Broly quickly returned his cold expression and remained silent. Everyone on the Marine ship was shocked and speechless by what the pirates did, but Garp only laughed with all his might. Haha, I knew that the kid was up to something. He is my grandson after all, haha. Man, we are going back to HQ, ordered Garp as he turned to his man and for the last time looked back at the place where his grandson and the crew flew. Be careful, Luffy, now the real thing begins. Good luck, said Garp quietly as he continued to stare. After they passed few miles, the Sunny landed on the sea while the crew only smiled and with relief saw that they are far away from the Marines. To be sure that they couldn't catch up with them, they quickly set the sails and sailed towards their new destination. While all of them were doing something, Broly glanced back at the place from where they flew off and wondered if he will soon find a worthy opponent. He turned around after he heard that they were calling him and joined with the others who celebrated the return of Usopp and Robin, the celebration for the new crew members and as well for the new ship.